What's up, everybody? I want to do a commentary video of how I produced my first ever song called Fire and Ice. I produced this back in 2020 when I decided to start making music from on my own, just to see where it goes. This was pretty quickly something that I was able to produce. So I want to give some insight to how I produced this song. I'm gonna try to keep it brief. I can freaking ramble about this. This is the stuff I personally nerd out about. So I could ramble on and on about the production of my music, and maybe people want to hear that. And if that's the case, I would love to talk about it. I just got to figure out a way to do it in a way that's digestible for people to consume. Because I me rambling about it isn't always helpful. But I digress. Anyway, this is Fire and Ice, guys. This is the original file that before I started releasing a bunch of music, I did put this song up on streaming several years ago, like 2022. I think I put it up on streaming, maybe 2021. I wrote it. Maybe I put it up in 2020. I wrote this song in summer of 2020. So going on 5 years ago. And I had it done pretty quickly. Let's just listen to it real quick. And as I listen to it, I'll stop it and go into detail about what's going on here. Okay. But let's get it started. I'm going to have to play it clips at a time because I'm afraid TikTok's going to mute this if I play too many segments all at once, too long of segments all at once. I'm not sure exactly how TikTok's going to handle this. We'll see. But let's start listening.
Fire and ice. I want fire in my soul and ice in my veins. Yeah. Every day I keep living in this deep depression. I'm feeling like life's holding me for ransom. I'll give that money. I'll give that money $1 million. I don't care. Just get me out of this headspace. I got 45s on the record player, and it's on the record player that I'm blocking out the haters. The crackle of the vinyl makes me feel alright.
Okay, so let's talk about what's going on. So when I first started making music, I didn't have any instruments at the time. I had an electric guitar, but I didn't have an amp. I didn't have an interface to plug in my electric guitar to my computer. All I had was a laptop with Windows 10 on it. Not like a super fancy laptop. It was okay. It wasn't super expensive. Several years old, but it was working fine. I had a Logitech USB headset mic. So it was headphones with, the little fold down mic. It wasn't quite like a gaming headset, right? It was more like a call center type headset. It actually wasn't bad though. But it was USB, plugged straight into the computer. That's it. That's all I had to produce this song. And so here's how I did it. I had discovered this website called Soundtrap, which still exists. I don't ever hear of anybody even using it. BandLab's got a far greater following. Both are owned by Google. But from my experience, I enjoyed the Soundtrap interface better than BandLab. But BandLab definitely has way more accessibility and options. So I haven't used Soundtrap in years now. But this song was produced completely on Soundtrap originally. Okay, so what I liked about Soundtrap, and BandLab has this as well, but they have their own now. But what I liked about Soundtrap at the time, well, they were offering 14-day free trials. So I had 3 different floating Soundtrap accounts that I would just I signed up for the 14-day free trial, or it was a month. I think it was a month free trial for the pro or whatever. Yeah, it was a whole month. and I just like ended up like re-signing up 2 other times. So I had like 3 months worth of the like subscription based like Soundtrap, which gave you more options for like splice samples, because they had integrated Splice into their interface. They had a whole like loop catalog of like pre-mastered loops that you could use, right? And BandLab has this too, but I really liked the catalog of options on Soundtrap at the time. And so what you're hearing at the beginning of the song is you've got like a beat. Let's go back and listen to it. Hold on. That dun dun da 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 da. That was just a loop I found. I was like, oh, that would sound good at the beginning. And so I put it there. Okay? I don't think I did anything to the loop. I was just, and these are royalty-free loops, apparently. Sometimes, if they get used on a song that ends up getting a lot of streams, and then you use it and it's like recognizable, like if there's already a published song on streaming that's monetized, it is copyrighted at that point. So there was one song, and I've only had this with one song. I don't use pre-made loops very often now. But back then when I was making music, there was one song I made that when I went to go put it up on streaming, they wouldn't let me, because there was a section where I used a loop that matched up exactly with another song that was already out there. And so that's what I was afraid of. Like, I didn't like the idea of using other people's work, but I didn't have any instruments. So I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? So that what you hear there is that Fire and Ice. And ice in my veins. So that wop wop wop, like that beat, like you hear it in a very faint, like almost like wop 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 wop. It actually sounds very similar. It's a cool like. I can't describe the sound, but anyway. But then there's the beat. I think that's all in a loop. So that beat's a loop, and it's got that like whoop 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 sound in it. And then you hear a piano. Oh, like a warbly piano, like bloom 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 bloom, and that's all it's doing. It's just a walk down of its chords in the loop. It's another loop. Bloom 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 bloom. It's just that over and over again if you listen closely. I might have that 808 you hear, that might be in the beat loop, or it might be a separate 808 loop. What I was trying to do was to arrange as many loops as I could to compose it in a way that was original to me. That was kind of like layering it, right? So I was doing a lot of that when I was trying to make music. It's on the record player that I'm blocking out the haters. So the vocals you hear there are recorded with the Logitech USB headset mic, the call center microphone type thing. And that, to me, is actually what kind of created the magic. Because when I struggled redoing this song later, it was because I was trying to record it on a studio condenser mic, like an actual studio mic. And I couldn't get the tones the same. I couldn't get it right. I couldn't get it to sound as good. Because I had already heard it with the USB headset mic and it felt right. It sounded right to me. Felt like it mixed right. Somehow. Right? I don't know. Crazy stuff. Somehow it feels like I'm just beginning. This depression's a part of a whole new me. Let's tear it down and it took the beat free. Okay, so you heard like a little whoosh sound as you go into that. There's fire in my eyes, right? Yeah, so I put that whoosh sound in there to add dynamic, and that's just another loop. And then the beat changes. I think it's just a different beat loop that's similar to the verse beat, but the downbeat of like the kick, right? The 808 or whatever. It's not even 808, I don't think, on the chorus, but the kick sounds different. Let's tear it down and attempt to be free. Yeah, so the beat changes, and then you start hearing the piano changes too. It's like, listen, if you listen closely. Dun 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 dun. I don't know. I can't replicate it with my mouth, but you hear it. There's a piano in the background doing like this little like, saloon music, like really like upbeat. I don't know. You can hear it. I can't describe it, but that's a loop as well. We get into a part where I'm actually playing a synth myself at the end. And it was where it was my original instrumentation. It's the only original instrumentation, but it comes in the breakdown, towards the breakdown at the end of the song. And I want to talk about how I did that. So let's get to that point because I'm running out of time. Okay, so the second verse is all the same until we get to the... So I just layered my vocals there, and I found out that Soundtrap at the time had some sort of auto-tune feature, and I had no idea how to use it. I somehow tuned it in a way that it sounded good in the moment, and I was like, hey, that fits. I'm going to do that there. So I just sing a melody of Dream Big. You can dream big. Okay, this is where it gets into a breakdown and close to where I start playing a synth. And I play a synth with my computer keyboard because Soundtrap had integrated it where you could use your USB, the keyboard that you would type on, as a way to play the single notes on the piano roll. So I found that out and I was like, oh shit, this is a game changer. So let's listen to the breakdown and the synth parts I play there. This is all loops right now. So that's where I jump in with my own synth part, which I'm just playing the same walk down and walk back up melody that's in the first verse, the dun 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 dun, but that like Sims theme park, like the Sim City or whatever music, like that sound that comes in right there, that's me playing physically. That sound right there is what I'm talking about. There's like a bass part that comes in there. That bass part that comes in, that's a loop. Okay, listen to this breakdown when it hits, and then I'll explain it. Okay, so let's explain what's going on there. At the end of that, low point where it goes into the breakdown, that last part before it finally hits the breakdown, it goes, and I layered that, did another synth thing, and then it goes into the breakdown. I found a loop that was like this explosion. So at the downbeat, every two measures or every two phrases of that breakdown, the downbeat, I went ahead and put one of those explosions. So that very first moment the breakdown hits, the bass feels like it drops because I've got that boom, and then there's a kick there as well, and then the beat's different. I think it's another loop, but then you hear like a growly dubstep thing going on. That is me playing on a synth as well, but I'm just hitting one note every downbeat, and it was a dubstep. It was called like a dubstep growler, I think, like the synth like a emulator. Like the name was like dubstep growler. So like I would hit it down, it would be like it would have this like really nasty like gurgly like like on that like main root note. That's all I was doing for that effect. And then I had a synth part that was like wait, how the frick did that go? Hold on. I heard it in my head. Like I did like a little run there. That's me playing on synth. I mean, I had enough musical knowledge at the time, even though I was still like a lot less experienced than I am now, that I could by ear figure out a scale, right? I'd been playing guitar for a while, so I had, my computer keyboard just sitting there picking out the notes for a run like that. And I thought that run was freaking cool for the end on that breakdown. It felt right, it sounded right in my head, that's what I heard in my head. That's what I made happen. And it's like one of my favorite things I've ever written, that breakdown, right? I didn't want to make music where I was just using other people's loops, but I didn't have a lot of options at the time, and I also wasn't experienced in playing like synth music. So like it was like I wanted to get started somewhere, but I didn't know where, and so I didn't let the fact that using loops was it felt insincere. I didn't want to let that feeling keep me from trying. And despite the fact that I used a lot of loops, I feel like this song is very unique, and I dig it a lot. And then, so I don't know how much time I've got. I just checked. I said I don't know how much time I've got. I was planning on putting this video on TikTok, which means it couldn't be more than 10 minutes. I was at 17 something when I just checked just now. So this is going to have to be a YouTube video, because there's no way for me to condense what I want to say about this song. I liked how this song turned out a lot. There were times I'd listen to it and I'm like, it made me cringe. I think it was just hearing my own voice, thinking that it was kind of nerdy that I was trying to rap. But that's what's interesting about the song, is it's got elements of like dance music. It's got elements of like hip hop rap, and then like the breakdown is more like a metal style breakdown, but with like dubstep feel to it. It's like really odd. It's like, I feel like it's an odd tune, but like cool in its own way, especially for being my first like fully complete production. And 2020, it's hard to believe 2020 was 5 years ago. It doesn't feel like it. But basically, this was just something that during the lockdown and the pandemic, I was just like bored as fuck. And I love music. I've always loved music. But there have been like times in my life where I basically gave up music and didn't do it that much. Well, this was a moment in 2020 where I was just like, I want to make music. I was like, there are opportunities to make music. There are resources to make music with no gear. I was like, this is possible. And that's when I found Soundtrap, and that's when I played around and produced something like this. And this is the original mix, or well, I guess you could say it's been altered now, but it's the original like file. I have mastered it a little bit since I uploaded it here. So I had lost the original file. Well, what I did was I had edited it to try to like make it better later on without saving the original stems. And so like the original vocals got lost essentially. I still had the like master track for the song itself without vocals, but like the original vocals were not no longer like something I had access to, except I had uploaded the original file onto a YouTube video. And so I had this idea the other day, which is how you're able to listen to it right now, to screen record my YouTube video and then rip the audio from the video. And it worked. You know, when I uploaded the original file to YouTube, I'm sure YouTube did, you know, some compression to the original file. But once I screen recorded it and, like, you know, took the system audio and then ripped that audio, it sounded as good as it ever did. Like, there was no quality lost, I don't think. And then beyond that, I took that original file and uploaded it into BandLab, just the app on my phone, the free app on my phone, as into a master track. Like, I took the master track and uploaded it into a project on BandLab, and then just added like a multi-band EQ where I sat there and like adjusted the EQ until it really like livened it up in my own ears, like with my own musical taste. So like what you're hearing is the original file with a little bit of mastering done by me, like just really amateur mastering done by me in BandLab. And so, but the reason why like I wanted to upload the original file is because even though the vocals were recorded with a Logitech USB headset microphone, I couldn't recreate the vocal magic. I tried the studio mics over and over again. I couldn't do it. And no matter how I EQ'd it, tried to make it sound telephony, tried you know, scoop it to make it sound like, you know, you're talking into like a, you know, like a filter of some sort. I couldn't do it. I couldn't seem to recreate it. It just wasn't the same. And so like, and then when I, you know, couldn't access the original file with the original vocal stems, I was like, shit. But it worked out. We've got the original file. I was able to master it a little bit, and now it's up on all streaming. And that's the story behind Fire and Ice. Since then, I've evolved a lot. You know, I currently use a very old version of GarageBand to produce all my music. It's what I prefer. It's crazy. It's GarageBand that was on the iLife 11 disc pack that came with, you know, all those early 2010 Macs. I use a 2010 Mac Mini to do my productions currently. And so the only sucky thing right now is I don't have like a good way to properly record real drums. I'm working on. I'm messing around. I got a few projects where I am working on recording real drums. And if you've heard God's Peace Pipe that I put on the other day, I recorded real drums and parts of that. On my EP, I guess it wasn't meant to be. I did a really DIY like approach with it, and I did real drums on it. And so, you know, I'm trying to work more with real drums as I go along, but I've got limited gear in that way, so it's hard for me to like properly like do it and make it sound decent. It's a learning curve for me. So a lot of my music does use loops for beats and rhythms, or there's a lot of my music that I was using a newer version of GarageBand that I had access to create like real sounding drums through their Smart Drummer feature in the new GarageBand. But that's not my default anymore. a lot of times I will go on BandLab and I will find some beats I like and use those as my baseline rhythm and then adjust them as needed. So I do a lot of like cutting and like kind of chopping the beats up to make them my own. My goal is to make my music as original to me as possible now. So very rarely do I ever use any sort of pre-made loops that have melodies in them. I try to stay clear of them. I prefer just to do everything myself now. All the instrumentation in my modern music is mostly me. There is the occasional like effect or loop that I'll use for effect, or to add like something to the rhythm. You know, but again, when I do use things like that, my goal, and I'm not shaming even using loops. It's just not. It's not something. It's almost like I feel. The song doesn't feel as as important to me. I'm looking for a specific word or phrase. The song doesn't feel as like tied to me. That's what it is. It doesn't feel as like intertwined with me if it's not me playing the instruments. You know what I mean? It's almost like I want my music to be my energy coming through the instruments as much as I can. So I'm not shaming people who use pre-made loops from like Splice or whatever to like make their own music. I mean, I'm sure it's controversial, but I don't give a shit about the controversy. Do what you want. Try to be original. Try to be an artist about it. But like, you know, I enjoy. For me, the most fun is playing the music. I felt even when I produced Fire and Ice and was trying to produce other songs with using loops, when I would get it done and listen to it, it felt good for a second, but it almost like felt insincere or like superficial to me because it wasn't all me on the instrument, you know. So anyway, that's kind of like part of my evolution. That's how Fire and Ice came to be. Thank you guys for listening. This is a long ass commentary. I have no idea if anybody will listen. I don't expect anyone to listen. I would love it if you can. If. But anyway, guys, thank you for your time. Let me know if you like this sort of content. I love making it. I geek out about my own music. So, thanks. Have a good day, guys. Bye.